Hi, Chris.
Hello.
How
Chris,
are
how's
you?
it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. We are in the throes of Keeper, let me tell you.
Yay!
It's
Did
kind
you
of
guys-
fun, actually. You know, it's
Good.
exciting. There's more complexity to it, I think, than any of us realized as far as like what transactions are being pulled from QuickBooks
Mhm.
and what transactions do we want pulled from QuickBooks.
Yeah.
So like that's one of the things we're working on today is kind of finalizing those exclusion lists.
Good.
And also let me confirm, I have to enter those for each client, right?
Correct.
Yeah, that's too bad.
Yeah, I know.
So is this your monthly session for all of your clients? Is this just for us?
Monthly for everybody.
Awesome. Good
We'll
deal.
see who else might join.
Yeah, we actually had
Until
Laura
then.
just
Okay.
sign up, so we'll let her in.
Oh, great.
Awesome. I thought I was going to be one of the masses, and so I made my lunch. I was going to sit here with my camera off and eat.
You definitely can still do that, Chris.
So can definitely do that. Hey, Laura, welcome.
Hello.
Hi.
So Erica, you're the Hughes of Hughes and Strong, huh?
I am the other side of this. So I really love working on kind of the front end of things, of sales and everything like that. But it's been really fun to get a little bit messy in the back end and kind of learn more about workflows and systems and help get that optimized and stuff like that. So it's been a really fun partnership, honestly.
Good, good. Well, it's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well. And Laura, how are you today? Welcome.
I'm doing well, thank you.
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. And we got one other person joining as well. Awesome. Well, just as a little bit of context, this is our monthly meeting for any of our clients that are currently working on their workflows. So easy Q&A. Feel free to drop a Q in the chat if you have any actual questions that you want to talk through. If you want to just turn camera off and kind of just be a fly on the wall for any questions, you're more than welcome to do that. So don't feel like you have to participate, but we're more than happy to answer any questions that come up on the workflow Keeper or anything like that side. Yep.
Awesome. Well, since it's just our group so far, can I just ask a question out loud?
Absolutely.
What is your recommended process and timing for opening the next month's close? So like we'll be finishing up October after November has already started. We want people to be doing their weeklies, which isn't really connected to opening the next close. But what's your recommendation for when to open that? Because we don't want people to have to switch back and forth unnecessarily. Right?
Yeah, I would say once that previous month, like once the close is completed, and this will be your preference, whether you want it to be, okay, once we have every client done, then as a whole, we move everybody forward to the next close, or if you want to do that client by client. So it's whenever you have completed all of the month-end close stuff for that client. I do think that Keeper has it set up where the next month end, let me just double check real quick. Oh no, you can start October already, even if you're just finishing up September. So yeah, does that answer your question, Chris? It's kind of your preference, whether you do it as a company as a whole, or if you go client by client. But I would not move on to the next close until the previous one was completed.
Right.
Hi, Devin.
Hey, Devin, welcome.
Does that help answer your question?
Yes. So if we have two closes opening, I was just wanting to see what that looks like then on the screen.
Oh, if you have, so like if you had half the clients in September and half in October?
No, if I had 2 months open for a single client, it's gonna, it looks like it's gonna show the current month by default, but to switch back to the prior month, I have to expand the client to be able to see that previous
You'll only be able to see one, and you'd have to click on that previous close and then open it up. You'll never see them like side by side.
Gotcha. Okay. So if our weekly workflow directs people to look at like the transaction review steps within the close part. It's just a training issue for them to understand that it really doesn't matter if you're looking at September or October closes. You're just kind of
Right.
using that checklist.
Yeah,
To see
exactly.
what
Mhm. Well, Chris, while you've got the floor, do you have any other questions that you guys wanted to cover today?
that was the only one that I had jotted down. Delane and Laura have been ears deep in this also. So if you guys have anything, jump right in.
And just to bring a little bit of context, if there was anything, I know you said you were doing your transactions and kind of finalizing that list of what needs to be pulled. If there's anything in that vein that you wanted to chat through preemptively, we'd be happy to help on that front too.
Thanks. I think that's what Laura and Delane are jumping into after this meeting, is to
Okay.
start looking at exclusions. I was just looking through my notes to see if there was anything else. So on the task list page, do they provide the option yet to default that to assigned to me instead of all?
I think you can save that
Oh,
view.
okay. Oh, yeah, you can save views, can't you? Laura, we can save views.
Let me double check before I say that. Yeah, you can save views in there.
Yeah, okay. So just right there at the top, Laura, you could choose assign to me and then just hit save a new view.
Here's your visual here. So if you've got your task list open and it defaults to all and all, if you click on assign to me and you only want to see maybe your high priority task, you could even filter it that way. And then you can just click save view, save as new. And then when you come in, you can have as many different views and lists as you want saved in here.
But it always opens to the keeper default, and then you would have to choose your view, right?
Let's see.
Or will it say stay on where you put it?
Let's see. Oh, and you can also make it private or firm wide.
Okay.
So if it's firm wide, that means it'll show up in everybody's options.
Mhm.
All right. So if I've saved that view and I exit out, oh, wrong one. We'll open it up again. Yep, default is always going to be all in all. So then you'll
Okay.
just come here and select the view you want.
Okay.
Jody, I've been having, sorry, I don't know if I have a specific question, but I've been
Mhm.
having some difficulty wrapping my head around the parent and child company and the process in there for checking that. So our franchise have been set up with parent companies with sub accounts, and then some of those sub accounts have child accounts too. And so they seem to be pulling through. What's the best way to go about eliminating those and making it, I don't know.
Is it all within the same
Have you
same
seen that?
client?
Yeah, so it would be the same chart account.
Would you feel
Yeah.
comfortable sharing your screen and giving me an example?
Yeah, I could do that, I think. Let me,
So it's the transaction review that, where it's asking us to make sure that all entries are coded to the child account versus
instead of the parent account.
in
Yes.
the general ledger.
and I'm not sure if it's just the way that we have our accounts set up for this franchise, but it just seems like so much comes up that's not even relevant to what we're trying to accomplish there.
Okay. So does it just feel like you're excluding a lot, or is it just not pulling the correct information?
So let me get to.
while you're pulling that up, Devin, just to let you know, if you've got specific questions, you can just pop into the chat and, raise your hand or just put the letter Q or whatever, and we'll get you in the rotation.
That sounds perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm mostly just here to listen and learn
And that's
more.
totally fine.
I may think of questions though. Thank you guys.
Yes.
So here we are with Coeur d'Alene cookies. And in my exclusions, I've already excluded my revenue account and my cost of labor account. Because we throw the day-to-day transactions in there and then do a journal entry at the end of the month to allocate them to the correct cost labor. So I know that
Okay.
those will be out. But for instance, this one right here, we've got food costs, goods, other, and I just don't understand why it's showing up. And then, of course, our equity accounts, our the contribution distribution is a sub account of the actual person's main account, or I could just show you on the
Well,
Sure.
go ahead and hit that drop down menu or hit
Okay.
the drop down button and it'll show you why it flagged it. So yeah, right there.
So this
And
is
that
what
might
we-
be why is there's no similar transactions. Okay. Click on one of the other ones. Let's see if it comes up for one of those three. None. Okay, interesting.
so far we've been at
They're
least
all that way. Okay.
in are just like there's no data on this. Even though I have it for the past 12 months. So,
Yeah.
and maybe it's because it's a journal entry. I'm not sure.
So I'm looking at my demo account to see if I can kind of replicate that.
I think if you maybe could see here how that chart of accounts is
Yeah.
set, might be helpful too. So we've got the equity, and then we've got Lake and Corp, and then she's got a contribution and a distribution. So I think what it's saying is, here's your parent, here's your child, but the child has child, so you shouldn't be using this account. I don't know.
That could be. Go back to Keeper for me, please. Let me look at that again. Okay. Is there any point where it shouldn't be in that like first child account? Like it shouldn't be there. It should be, let's call it a grandchild account. That third layer. Is there any point where it needs to be reviewed just in case it should go to one of those grandchild accounts?
So we always want it to go to the grandchild account, except in the case of equity at the end of the year. And I think that's what these journal entries here are. Then they roll it up into the child account so that the equity matches the tax return, the running tax return.
Okay.
So on a month-to-month basis, we would want to make sure that these transactions are actually in the distribution and the contribution and grandchild.
Okay, I want to make sure that I'm understanding. So throughout the year, you do want them to be in the grandchild account.
Yeah,
Okay. So is this one right here, the 3210, is that the child account or the grandchild account?
that's the child account.
Okay, so you do need that transaction moved then, or is this the year-end journal entry?
This is the year-end journal entry, so
Okay,
would be that I just noticed the date, so these would be okay.
all right, so let me see what's under them. To me, since it's one journal entry, like basically it's one journal entry per year that would have it rolling into that first child account.
Mhm.
I would not worry about the exclusion and just know that when I'm looking at this list, okay, this this journal entry is our year end where it's supposed to be rolling in, and I'll just close it. So you can hit that thumbs up under the status column to say like, nope, I've looked at this. It's okay. It's supposed to be in here, and check it off.
Okay,
That's how I would approach it. That way, throughout the year, if it's in that account, but you want it to be in a grandchild account, it'll still flag it for you so you can then distribute it where it needs to go. Does that make sense throughout the rest of the year?
yes, I think so. So we have a parent account here, which is the cost of labor, which then has several different child accounts, one being this additional cost of labor. And then we have grandchild's underneath there.
Mhm.
So is that always going to pull up as an error when they're coding to those accounts? I just don't, I can't wrap my head around how to simplify this so people can just look at it and say, oh yeah, that's good. No, this is not good.
Yeah. One thing that I have found, there's kind of like two different ways to approach this. One is honestly sitting down with Ben and digging into it deeper to know the back end, like how the formulas are working, to know what it's pulling and how it's communicating from Keeper to the report that they set up. The other way to do it is, since it's still new for you guys, to take it month by month. And as you're going through it, decide like, okay, is this something that we need to be looking at, or is this type of transaction okay and we can exclude it? So some people approach it that way, where just as they go throughout the year, they slowly build up an exclusion list as they see things pop up multiple times. They're like, well, wait a minute, we don't need to see that anymore. I'll exclude it. Or, okay, that one came up. I need to know if it hits that, but this particular one is okay, so I'll just close it.
Okay.
Does that help?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Some of it is going to be like that, where you may not know right now how you want your list to be set up, but as you learn the process or as you learn the system and you see how the system is pulling information, you'll start seeing patterns month over month and say like, okay, yeah, we want these in here. We don't want those in here. And it's just kind of like a slow process that builds up over time.
Okay, great.
And just because Keeper highlights a transaction and brings it to our attention, it may be that it's fine. And we
Oh,
just
absolutely.
click the thumbs up and say, yes, thank you for showing me this, but it's fine.
Yes.
And we just check review.
100%. Yeah, because they've just built in formulas here that look for specific things, but that doesn't mean the way you're doing it is wrong. It's just they have to put something in there to pull data in. And then you've got to teach Keeper what data pieces are okay and which ones need to be reviewed.
Well, and teach our people too,
Yeah.
as they go through the month.
Yeah.
This is okay. This is going to show up here, but it's okay. Just check.
Right.
review.
And that is definitely very common for that to be like a long learning process, as
Yeah.
everybody learns like what information is it pulling. And then, okay, now that I know what information it's pulling, which ones do we need to address? Which ones do we not? So it'll just continuously go as more data comes into the system.
Is there a way to specifically remove a template from a client once it's been added, or do you just replace it?
It depends on how the templates are set up. Because when you apply a template, it's looking for that commonality. So whether it's, the task name, if that's the same, then it'll update it. If it's different, it'll just create a new task and the old one will remain. So
Okay.
that is something that we need to talk to Ben about, is like, is there an easier way to mass remove tasks or remove an entire template? Because at this point, I'm not aware of one, and you have to go in and individually delete the tasks you no longer want, which
Okay.
the more clients you get, the more cumbersome that would be.
So we put in a guinea pig template into 4 clients that
Mhm.
Delane and Laura have been working on.
Okay.
We have simultaneously been finessing that workflow. So I'm going to want to recopy the workflow we've finessed into these 4 clients.
Yes,
So
just
I just
reapply
wanna-
it.
Okay, but if I
And then-
changed any names, I need to make sure what has prevailed, right? Or which
I would
one
say,
has-
yeah, I would just say test it out. Keep testing it because that's the best way to do it. And as you finesse it, re-drop it in, so reapply it, and then open that account up and say, okay, did it change everything I wanted it to? Is anything now duplicated?
Mhm.
Or, like that, those would be the key things to look for, is to make
Okay.
sure like, okay, I know that I changed these 3 things. Did those 3 things change? Yes or no? And then did anything else happen that I didn't want to happen?
So I could just pull up both screens side by side and kind of compare the template to the client to make sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Laura and Delane, help me remember. It was 41st, Missoula, Cedar, and what was the 4th one?
Casper.
Thank you. And then for clients that I've added, but I haven't copied over any templates, if I open those, it's just the keeper default, right?
Correct.
And
Until
if I
you
ap-
add, until you apply a template, it's just going to be the keeper default.
Okay.
And anything else that you may have applied at the client level. Or added in at the client level. Yeah.
Okay.
And I know Chris has done such a wonderful job keeping us educated. And I know she's answered this question several times, but I would like to ask you as well.
Sure.
When we exclude, it has to be per client. We can't exclude
Yes.
in the template.
Yes. That is
I
correct.
don't like that feature.
Now, here's something I will tell you is that if there is something that you know that you want to exclude across all clients, ask Ben and the team. They may be able to do it on the back end to save you time.
Thank you.
Or if you have a list of them that's like, for every client, we don't want any of these on here. Can you please help us? They may easily be able to do that on the back end. Don't hesitate to ask the team if that's something that they can do. Like if there's something you need to do across all and you're realizing like, oh my gosh, this is really cumbersome, very manual. I wonder if there's a better way. Don't hesitate to reach out to the team. They are very responsive and they'll let you know like, yes, we can help you with that. Or no, it is a manual process right now, but let's put in a request, because there's all those canny requests to help improve it. So if they know that there's an issue here, they may not be able to fix it immediately, but they can put it in the roadmap.
Exactly. And I think that's a really good point, is not only do you have the clarity of like, yes, there is another way and they might be able to help you on the back end, it also puts it top of mind for them to know that it's coming up so that they can roll that out if it's not there already.
Yeah.
Do you have a recommendation, Jody, on whether kind of standard users are allowed to create exclusions? And is that even an option? Can we turn that off for standard users to be able to add to the exclusion list? I can't remember.
I believe the answer to that is that standard users can. I'm trying to see if I don't think that's in the setting. Let me check here. Because there are some things that you can lock. Let me share my screen again to show you this. So when you come up here to the gear icon and click on practice and statements, you go to tasks. These are all the things that you can lock or unlock. I don't see exclusions in there. But I know like they can't delete sections. Actually here, this says lock standard. It may be, let's explore this one. They may still be able to do exclusions. Locking tasks. Okay. Standard users will still be able to do these things. They can change the task status and they can create new tasks. This leads me to believe that they would be able to do the exclusions as well,
Yeah.
even if that setting is locked. So if it's something you don't want your people to use, I think that would just be part of training.
I could just see where somebody might not understand what that's doing and exclude
Right.
things we don't want them to.
Then yeah, if you make that like a across the board, hey, you're not supposed to do this, and no wiggle room with that, then that'll just be part of your best practices. And here's,
And
just in case you didn't know, sorry, Erica, just in case you didn't
No,
know,
no.
if you do exclude something and then you realize I don't want to exclude that, you can go back in and undo it.
Yeah.
And I think a good way on the training side to bring that up and help them understand why that is and not just an easy rule that you can forget is explaining what that does. Is like, so if we set an exclusion on this without us all thinking about it as a team, this is what happens. So we really want to make sure that that's not happening. Reach out to this person or this person if you do find something that you think needs to be excluded. That gives them an understanding of why that rule's in place and also who to go to if they do run into that problem so
Yeah.
that you mitigate both parts of that.
That's a good point.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, Devin, I want to give you an opportunity. Do you have any questions popped up for you?
Not yet. Answered
Okay.
some I didn't realize that I had. So I've been taking notes, but this is
Good.
really helpful. I'm so thankful you guys are doing this.
So
Awesome.
Devin, are you in the implementation process too? Just getting started?
I
Yeah.
am, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're too.
There's a lot of steps, but I'm really, really excited about it.
Just remember, everybody, the hard work up front makes it all more efficient later.
Yes. I'm just looking around to see if anything prompts another question for us. Do you have any magic words for training to help people understand that within the weekly to-dos, we're asking you to jump down into the monthly to take advantage of these QBO transaction review process, but we don't want you to check that off as done down here. We want you to check this off as done up here weekly. So I've been thinking through, just how to make sure we explain that well enough.
Yes.
Are there any magic words you've come up with that really help relay the message?
I know exactly what you're talking about. I'm looking for where I have that in here. Okay. Close that, close that. Okay, so here's an example. Let me open this back up for you. Okay, so in your non-closing tasks, your weekly transaction review section,
Mhm.
when I open that up, it'll say transaction review weekly checklist, payee entity review weekly checklist.
Mhm.
And it says, as you complete these tasks on the transaction review section each week, check them off here. Then down here, you can put in parentheses that this is the month end checklist. Or if you want to say, you can even put a task right there, like say, don't check these off until the end of the month. You can make this title as long as you need to. So, and then it would just be a reminder. You can also put a reminder in here. you can always add a reminder in here saying, check this off at month end. For weekly, check it off in the non-closing tasks.
Okay.
That's how I've approached it.
Okay, thanks. And what in your experience are some of the most complicated or tricky points for training that we would want to give just extra time and attention to? And I'm just asking questions because nobody else is. I don't mean to
No, it's
dominate the
great.
call.
No, it's great. I appreciate it.
You're totally
I'm
good.
looking at my list. Yeah.
And while Jody's pulling that up, I'll give a couple of points that I would add as like a kind of team focus. I think one of the points that are easy to miss in like the training is actually helping your team understand why this is going to help. Because I think part of this that you have to combat is not only like, how do you use the system, but is combating some of the resistance that comes up when you learn a new system for anybody of
Yeah.
this is clunky, this is new, I feel a little bit inadequate. Like there's all of those pieces that come up as you're trying to learn a new system and frustration. So while I'm sure Jody has a ton on the like actual specifics, that's one piece that I think actually walking through how this is going to help or why you even implemented this in the first place as a starter for all of this can help bring down some of that, it's a new system, I don't like it,
Yeah.
down to a reasonable level, because they don't just understand you have to do this to keep your job. It gives a little bit more color around, guys, I honestly understand that like changing to any new system is going to be cumbersome, but here's why we're doing it as a firm wide, as a team. So hope that helps. And then I'm sure Jody has a little bit more
Yes.
specifics on that.
No, going into the why, I think really helps because one of the biggest things that I see is just overwhelm.
Yeah.
When people first get into it and it's like, holy cow, because before you apply these templates, you might have, you've got a default, 15 maybe checklist for each one, and you're not even sure what you're supposed to be doing with the checklist without having notes in there or what you're supposed to be doing with the task. So you go from that to adding in these templates that have tons of information, which all have checklists that you're supposed to, tick off along the way. It's extremely overwhelming. And seeing it all at once is really hard because then it's just like wall shut down. When you can break it down and say, look, just look at this one section. Let's just take this one task. Loom or videos, whether it's Loom or any other recording ways, is amazing. You can drop those links right into the task so that if it is overwhelming, they can take a beat, they can have a visual along with the written, and then it helps them to process it a little bit more. That's
And
kind of
I'd
like the
piggyback
biggest
on
stuff I
that.
see. Go ahead.
Yeah, to kind of piggyback off of that, I think a really cool way to do that is like, okay, so there's a lot of stuff to look at and we can dive into specific features, but let's just start by like, what is your day gonna look like when you're in Keeper? First, go through and check your task list or, whatever that process looks like for you. But I think that can help take some of the overwhelm out if you're almost like shadowing or let them watch over your shoulder as if they were in your shoes. And that not only helps them see where to look for everything, but also gives them a little bit of context of like how they're going to be using it. Because there's going to be some of this that they don't really need to be in or know a ton about, but that can easily get overwhelming. So I think if you go in with the why and then go into, okay, before we dive super deep into anything, I'm more than happy to answer questions, but like, let's just run through what this is going to look like now that you're in Keeper and using it day to day.
So I've already started like with the one pager of these are the expectations. These are your responsibilities. This is what you're going to do on a weekly basis and a monthly basis, just to kind of help them understand big picture. All right, this is what this means to me. So I have my own why we're doing Keeper. What are some of your whys? Like mine's more thorough bookkeeping, more consistent, more timely, more accurate.
I mean, the two biggest ones that always come up for me are efficiency and consistency. And in
I
the
think
beginning, it may not feel efficient in the beginning, but it's designed for efficiency. So as they get familiar with it and learn it, that's when it starts to become more efficient.
And I think a really good way to hit on that point is explaining how this means that we're only going to have one place to go in and check and make sure. You're not going to have to bounce back and forth from QBO to this account, to this account, to this account. This is going to help track all of that for us so that we have one place, one like source of truth that, you know, if you check this off, you're done with it. And you don't have to go comb through the books to find that issue.
Yeah.
You just made me think of something else that Laura experienced yesterday. How quick is the communication between Keeper and QBO?
As far as I know, it's fairly quick. Usually there's a little thing that pops up to say like it's updated. I haven't tested it out. I have not gone like back in. I haven't had both of them up to see how quickly it happens. So that may be a question for Ben. But it's my understanding that it happens pretty quickly.
And Chris, just to go back to your point about training, one other piece that comes up for me is answering the question that they're probably going to have of like, where do I go if I have questions? Because if you've started creating a kind of reference guide, point back to that or tell them who your point of contact is. That'll reduce some of the unnecessary questions on you if you're not the point of contact, and also helps them understand and kind of normalize that there's going to be questions that come up and to kind of guide them to where to go for that. One other piece, if you're having a hard time with your kind of team implementation or you're extra worried about it, is you might just have like a 2-week in or a 1-week in Q&A call where you honestly just hop on with anybody and ask if anybody has any specific questions that you can answer when you're all team wide together. Because I'm sure if one person has it, a lot of people have it, but that can give you the floor to address some of those things that you don't know that you need to train them on, or just answer company wide on some of the issues that you're finding.
Yeah.
So we have a Monday morning team meeting. I see this being a lead topic for
Yeah.
several weeks, probably.
And to go back to your question on what, like where hiccups might be with training, I think it varies from firm to firm and from bookkeeper to bookkeeper to know like where's the hang up, what part of this is a bit more confusing. The keeper provided sections, the transaction reviews, those kinds of things, without the checklist, it's like, what do I do with this report? I don't know. So making sure that you guys have thoroughly gone through what I gave you to ensure that it's what you want your team to be looking for, that the verbiage matches how you guys would say it or describe it, that will really help in your training and getting people more familiar with it and helping to build that confidence of, okay, I'm looking at this report now. I know why these transactions are here and I know what to do with them. That will go a long way for you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
We have given that some pretty specific attention already.
Good.
And that being said, is there anything in particular that like on a gut level you're kind of worried about with training? Because we gave some like quick tips or anything like that, but if there's anything that you're specifically worried about, like this, they're not going to do this or anything like that, we can also dig into that a little bit deeper if it would help.
I think my biggest concern on that is that when you look at the page, it becomes very overwhelming and there's lots and lots of verbiage in there. And so when I first looked at the processes, I was like asking myself, have I done this? Do we really need it? And there were so many things that I was like, yeah, I've been reviewing financial statements for so many years that I automatically just, do that. But to see it all written down becomes a little bit overwhelming. I think, after our staff has gone through it 100 times, it's going to be, say second nature, like it's second nature to me. But I don't know, do you have any ideas of training through the overwhelmness of everything on there?
Yeah, I'll pop it over to you, Jody, but just as a quick thing initially, just being that genuine. Like that's how I would kind of approach it, is just being honest and saying, like, as you guys get this, and if you've done this for a long time, this is going to feel like you have a bunch of checklists that you already do that like just feel overwhelming. but this is just to make sure that we're not missing anything. Or, like actually just being that candid and being like, and I honestly got overwhelmed when I went in there for the first time, because there's a lot of things that are written out that we have to check off that we do intrinsically. So this isn't to like make you do a whole bunch of extra work. This is just to help with that learning curve to make sure that everything gets addressed, and not to feel like these are all tasks that you need to do, but that this is the process of it. And we're just going to check it off, whether we did it intrinsically or we needed to go check the list. Just when it's just an external way to make sure that everything gets crossed off for every single client.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very good point.
And a great way to keep it really consistent if somebody needs to cover for somebody else's clients through the month, or like if somebody is sick or somebody's on vacation or whatever, those pieces are still happening and they're happening in a consistent way. I think
Mhm.
that helps.
Exactly. Yeah, great
As
point.
far as overwhelm, I just try to focus on one section at a time.
And that's probably my biggest like advice is break it down.
Yeah.
You guys are doing awesome with taking 4 clients and playing with it and tweaking it and trying to get it where you want it to be for those 4. It's going to kind of be the same way for your bookkeepers. They're going to have to like, okay, I'm going to look at this section, or maybe you review a section every week or something and say, okay, this week we're just going to touch on these. Do you guys have questions about this section? Here's and just kind of walk through it, but encouraging them and saying, we know that this is overwhelming. Take a beat, like take a breath and just read through it. It's going to take a little bit of time. I found that it seems like by like the 3rd month end, things are starting to feel more natural. They're starting to feel more comfortable, more familiar. And then every month end close, it's gonna feel better. And so just giving them that opportunity to say, yes, this is overwhelming. Just take your time, go through it. And if you have questions, ask. Like, don't hesitate to ask. That's probably where people spin their wheels the most, is they read something and they're like, I don't get it, but I should get it. So I'm going to sit here and try and figure it out.
And try to get it.
Right.
Mhm.
Where if they just ask the question, it's an easy answer and they can move on. So encouraging that as well during the training and during this, first 3 to 6 months of using a new system, that learning curve, encouraging that open communication will really help everybody as well.
Do you ever add? So let me restart that question. I added the weekly recurrence to the weekly bookkeeping task template.
Mhm.
I probably shouldn't have, I'm wondering in hindsight, because now it's showing you like the 25th as the next date for the template. I can't see how I can get rid of that now that I've put it in there. So I will also ask, should you put any kind of dates or recurrence in the template, or should you wait until they're in the client? Does that make sense? Did I word that correctly?
No, it does. It makes sense. It's just not a clean answer or like a clear answer. So it depends on which template you're doing. It depends on how it affects your clients. So an easy way to look at it is, if it's a template, like your close template, it's going to repeat every month, no matter what. You just need it to be a consistent day. So maybe it's the 10th. Something has to be done on the 10th for every single client, every single month. By all means, put that date in the template. It's going to save you time from having to go in client by client to add that.
Okay.
But if there is one that's different for every client, then it depends on the template. In the primary close, like in your close templates, I believe you can easily remove dates. So you could add them and remove them from the template. So if you have 5 clients that everything's due on the 10th, plug in the 10th, apply it to your clients. It'll save you some time. Then delete that, apply it to a different client, or change the date and apply it to these next 5. You can do that. In the project template, we do not have the access yet to remove reoccurring dates. Just talked to Ben about this the other day. If you set it there, it'll drop it into your client for sure, but then you can't go back and remove it.
Can I change it though?
You can change it. Yes, absolutely. You can change it, but you won't be able to remove it. So that's kind of the only caveat. My thing would be, if you have a lot of clients and they all use the same date, to me, it makes more sense to add it to the template and then apply. And then the next time you need to add something or update the template, you just update the dates there as well. But if it's something that varies from client to client, then it may be better to do it at the client level. Does that help answer your question, Chris?
Yes.
I know it's not an ideal answer for sure, but we just don't have the access yet to do that. Have you guys, do you know how to bulk assign dates and assign tasks to people in Keeper? Like section by section?
I have seen it. I don't remember it off the top of my head. Do you
I'm
want to
gonna
show us
share.
again?
Yeah.
So I just copied a template to see if the dates that I put in copied, and they did. So that wasn't what I wanted to see.
Yeah. And okay, so in the template, you can't do this. This you can do at the client level.
Okay.
Another thing I need to ask Ben to change. It'd be nice if we could have this like little menu or options here in the template level as well.
Mhm.
So when you're in a client and you're like, okay, all of these dates are the same and they're assigned to the same person, you can just hover next to the title and say, okay, I want to assign these to Ben. Okay, and he needs to have them done by the 25th. And it'll automatically update those.
Okay.
This one's already checked off, so it didn't update.
If I have preparer defined at the template level, that then translates to the person who is assigned to be the preparer for a particular client when I copy that template into the client, correct? I'm counting on that working that way, so I just wanted affirmation, I guess.
Yes.
Okay. And then it is okay for a random person, if you will, to have a task assignment within a client. Like we have an admin staff that pulls all of our bank statements. So even though she's not the preparer or the reviewer, it is perfectly fine to have her.
Oh, absolutely.
To a particular task. Okay.
And you can do that at the template level or at the client level. So like if she's the same one that does it for every client, you can plug that in on the template and it'll transfer to each client.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
So it's better to go back to my original question. If I have like a weekly task, it's better to copy leave the template without any dates. Copy the template to the client when it's needed, and then set that first date once it's in the client, and set the recurrence once it's in the client.
I would say if it's different for each client, yes.
Okay. Okay.
I always think of like time saving ways. So if it were me and I had 20 different, 20 different clients and there were only 5 different dates that I needed, to me personally, I would just update the template and update the template, apply, update the template, apply. Just because to me that saves time.
Right.
But if it's a concern or you're not comfortable with that method, because that's just my method, you can do it anyway, you know, you can do what's most comfortable for you, then yes, you can definitely go in, you can apply it to all of them and then go in one by one to update that date.
Okay. Okay, well, I've assigned a weekly recurrence on Tuesdays for our weekly bookkeeping tasks. And so like right now, the template is updated to next Tuesday, the 25th. So I probably would want to wait to copy that template to our clients until the first week, right?
I think so.
Okay.
Sorry, I got distracted because I was looking for another time saver for you.
That's okay.
So when you're in your client list, say you're looking at your non-closing task, you can click on that to open it up.
Mm-hmm,
You can set a date here.
mm-hmm.
So instead of having to walk in or, go into each and every client, you could just do it from this one, then pop down to the next one, go through it. That would save you a little bit of time too, if you're wanting to do it client by client.
Okay.
If that helps. Now, do you mind repeating your question that you just asked? Sorry.
So I feel like I made the mistake of putting recur every
the date.
Tuesday on our weekly tasks. So now when I go to copy that into each of the clients that I want to use that weekly checklist, it's already going to have Tuesdays set as the recurring date.
Just reach out to Ben. He'll take it
Can
on.
can he clear those dates for me? Okay.
Well, Kenny can. But yeah, just click on the chat bubble in Keeper
Okay.
and just open that up. And Shayna will probably direct one of the guys to help.
Okay. Thank you for that. Okay.
We've got a few minutes left. Is there anything else we can help you with to utilize this last bit of time?
I didn't realize this was going to be the Haney show, or I probably would have come better prepared.
No, it's okay. You never know who will hop on monthly calls and who won't.
Yeah.
For sure.
We definitely had a handful of people who had registered saying they were coming. Not everybody came. How it felt.
That's all right. Okay. Well, that's all I can think of at the moment.
But yeah, like I said, don't ever hesitate to reach out to that chat to Keeper when you guys have questions too, because they are very quick to answer and can give some guidance. And also, if you guys are bringing up something, a challenge that you're running into and trying to problem solve, how do I get around this? They may have the solution, or they can put in that request so that something gets added to the roadmap to make it easier for everybody in the future. That's one of the beauties of Keeper, is that they are a very responsive team and they take all of our feedback to heart.
Yeah, it's a huge draw, isn't it? It's just having a little bit of customization options.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, well, we will chat and see if old Ben's on duty. Or who's on duty.
Sounds good. Well, thank you very much for joining us today. We greatly appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank
for
you,
hosting
appreciate it.
this. Yeah, nice to meet you, Erica.
Absolutely. Nice to meet you, ladies. It was a beautiful pleasure. And yeah, honestly, we'll have these every month. So feel free, log any questions. And we're more than happy to jam through any, whether it's how do we talk about this, or I'm running into this issue and trying to troubleshoot, or you have a specific question, all is fair game.
Yep.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks. Have a great day.
Thanks, you too.
Absolutely. Thanks.
Bye.
Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.